Hey guys, it's Justine here from I Should Read That, and today I am bringing you the Mid Year Freakout book tag. So this tag is older than this channel. I have no idea who started it. I don't think anyone tagged me in it. Maybe someone tagged me in it. I'm not 100% sure, but it's something that I like to do in the middle of the year anyway, just as a nice reflection on my progress in terms of reading throughout the year and sort of getting a little sense of where I want to set myself up for the rest of the year. So I have all of the questions here, and I'll go ahead and post all of them down below in the description box if you would like to do this tag as well. You don't have to try to write down the questions as I'm saying them. You can just get them from there. And yeah, we'll just kind of go ahead and get started. I don't think there's much more that needs to be said. So the first question is, what is the best book you've read in 2020 so far? So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at my Goodreads shelf for what I've read in 2020 and just start calling stuff out, because as per usual, I tend to really like a lot of the stuff that I read. If I don't like it, I don't finish it. It's as easy as that. So as I say, tend to enjoy a lot of the things that I read, but I have really been having a good year for books so far. So let's see, just going in chronological order of what I've read, I'll put the covers up on the screen so I don't have to pull all these off of my shelf. So the first book that I finished this year was Artificial Condition by Martha Wells, which is the second Murderbot book, and that's fantastic. And it has my favorite side character from the Murderbot series called Art. If you know who Art is, you are lucky. If you don't, you should really read the Murderbot series. I have ups and downs with that series, but the second and third are my favorites. So that was a really good one. Also in January, I read Dark Matter by Michelle Paver, which is a historical set ghost story. That was really good and a really compulsive read. It's set in the Arctic, and it's a group of explorers, I think in 1935, and they're basically going to camp out for X amount of time and do all these sciencey things. And we're getting the story told in the first person from one of the members of this expedition, kind of the odd one out who joined on at the last minute, and they go, and one by one the others have to leave, so he ends up getting left by himself during the period of perpetual darkness, 24 hours of darkness, and it's really good. I really liked that. And that's a little bit different from a lot of the stuff that I do tend to read, because it's a ghost story, a horror novel, as opposed to sci-fi or fantasy, although they share a lot of the same kind of blood with each other. The Wolf of Oren Yarrow by Chaos Veloso was great. I really enjoyed that. I have a review for that book on my channel. I'll link it somewhere up here, but that's an amazing low fantasy about a woman who is the queen of her land and basically gets lured out of her kingdom by her estranged husband under the pretense of wanting to make amends because he left her and her son 5 years ago, and everything's kind of been in turmoil ever since, and it ends up being an assassination attempt. Whether or not he's involved, we don't know, but it's really good. I really liked that. Then the next book I finished after that was The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which I did a reading vlog for. There's not much more that I can say about The Fifth Season that hasn't already been said. If you don't know those books and you like fantasy, you should really get on it. Let's see, what else do we have here? The Light Brigade by Cameron Hurley was one of the first, if not the first, science fiction book I read this year, and that is great. If you desperately want to love Robert Heinlein, but you think he's a huge sexist pain in the ass, you should give The Light Brigade a try. It is everything that I wanted from Starship Troopers and didn't get, and it's so good. So I would highly recommend that. This is kind of the year of N.K. Jemisin. I discovered N.K. Jemisin in February with The Fifth Season. I read all three of those books, the Broken Earth trilogy. Then I read The City We Became, which is her new release. And then I read The Killing Moon, and I'm going to be reading The Shadowed Sun, which is her Dream Blood duology. Apparently, I'm a big N.K. Jemisin fan now, but her books are amazing. There's a lot of really good stuff on here. I feel like I shouldn't keep rambling on about every single good book that I've read so far this year, but there are a ton. I have a sneaking suspicion that my best books of the year video at the end of the year is going to be very, very long. Very, very long indeed. So it's been a great year for reading so far. The next question is, what has been your favorite sequel for the first half of the year? That is definitely Kingdom of Copper and Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty. I read Kingdom of Copper, which is the second book in the David series, in March maybe. It was a buddy read and it was such a fun experience, and I think that's my favorite book in the trilogy. And then I read Empire of Gold in June and absolutely loved it. It just, like, the least surprising thing in the world. I love that series so much. I will read her shopping list. Those books are amazing. If you like fantasy, you've heard me yell about them so much already, like, you should just pick them up. The next question is there a new release for the first half of the year that you haven't read yet? I'm cheating slightly because this was within arm's reach and it arrived today, so there's obviously no way I could have read it by now, but that would be Unconquerable Sun by Kate Elliott. This is a gender-swapped Alexander the Great retelling set in space. Sounds amazing. I really, really enjoyed Kate Elliott's Black Wolves series, and I'm hoping that one day we get a continuation of that series because it was so good. I think the series was cancelled, unfortunately, but I really like her writing. I love the concept of this book. This just came out today on the 7th in the US, and it comes out in October in the UK. I couldn't wait, so I pre-ordered the US edition, but this sounds amazing, and this is definitely one that I want to read very, very soon, and like literally just came out. Right, the next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I have a ton, but the one that stands out, and of course as soon as I do this I'm gonna have more that jump to mind, but the one that really stands out is Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie, which is the second book in the Age of Madness trilogy. Joe Abercrombie is one of my favorite authors. I loved A Little Hatred last year. It was one of my favorite books of the year, and I did a review for it. I'll link it somewhere, but I just adore his writing. I love his grimdark fantasy. He's so funny and so, like, hurtful. And I just absolutely adore his characters and his world. He's one of the best character writers ever, and I am very curious to see where he's gonna go in this new book, the second in this new trilogy. So it's definitely A Trouble with Peace is one of my most highly anticipated books. I'm sure, as I say, I'm gonna think of a million more as soon as this goes up. It's fine. What is your biggest disappointment so far? So this will be a recent one. Unfortunately, I think that was Circe by Madeline Miller. I had very high expectations going into this book. It's been sat on my shelf since it came out, I think in like 2018. I had that beautiful hardcover, and I love Greek mythology. I've heard amazing things about her writing, and indeed her writing is beautiful. Some of the most beautiful writing just that I've ever come across. And the bits of this book that were amazing were so good, but unfortunately for me they were few and far between. It's a really character-driven book, which I usually really enjoy. There's not a lot of plots. Some of my favorite books have been books without plots. See Record of a Spaceborne Few by Becky Chambers has no plot. But the character of Circe just wasn't enough to keep me interested throughout the whole book. I really appreciate what Madeline Miller was trying to do, however it just didn't click with me, unfortunately. I know this is a book that has very sort of mixed opinions. People either love it or it just doesn't work for them. I feel like I've seen very few people like smack in the middle, but I really wanted to love it. I'm going to read The Song of Achilles. I've actually got it right here, because I've heard that even if I didn't like Circe, I'd probably enjoy that, and I'm really looking forward to reading Song of Achilles, but Circe just didn't do it for me. Okay, while we're at it, while I'm looking at my Goodreads, another book that I was really disappointed by, probably more so than Circe, was Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. It's a series I'm going to give another chance to. I'm going to read the second book, but I did not get on with it. I think possibly, again, my expectations were really high because people love this series so much, and so many of my friends who I have very similar tastes in books to love this series. He's a lovely man, It's a great series apparently, but it just didn't work for me. I've talked about this fairly extensively recently. I think I read this in May, so it'll be in my April or May wrap-up, sometime around then. But I really didn't enjoy the treatment of women in this book, as they're kind of used almost like stepping stones for this man to kind of get where he needs to be, which is chasing after his wife, who he like loses within the first 20 pages. And she should be such an amazing character, but she's such like a non-entity. She's a super manic pixie dream girl. I really didn't get on with Senlin Ascends, which makes me really sad. But I'm gonna try the second book. If I don't get on with that one, I'll stop reading the series, but if I do, I will be very happy and will very happily continue, because I really like the world building, as just his treatment of women leaves something to be desired. The next question is, what is your biggest surprise of the year so far? And I'm gonna cheat slightly because I can't really think of any book that would be a great answer for this. I feel like I've not had a huge like book that's completely surpassed my expectations or anything like that to such an extent that I would talk about it here. I would say that my biggest surprise so far in terms of my reading is the fact that I have started reading more nonfiction and I'm enjoying it. Ever since the death of George Floyd, of course, a lot of booktubers and readers are picking up nonfiction books about race and from other perspectives, especially from Black perspectives if you're a non-Black reader. And I've been doing that. And I have read a fair few, or at least I have started a fair few nonfiction books, and I'm really enjoying them. Previously, I never really read nonfiction unless it was history that had a really strong kind of almost narrative style, or science books that were really easy to understand. So I'm a huge fan of Carl Sagan's books. But I never really got into these kind of books on contemporary issues and on race and things like that. And I am really enjoying them. So I am glad that I finally have taken the chance to start reading some of these books. It's an unfortunate circumstance that led me to it, but I am happy that I at least am starting to now expand my horizons a little. The next question is, who is your new favorite author, as in a new to you author that you've never read before, or a debut author? This is a really easy one. It's N.K. Jemisin. As I said, this is the year of N.K. Jemisin. I have now read, 5 of her books, and I'm starting on my 6th one. And it's only July, and I'd never read her before, and I am not someone who tends to read series consecutively because I'm a mess. So the fact that I have picked up so many of her books in 6 months is pretty impressive. I've admired her for a really long time because she is a very cool seeming person. I really admire her sort of activism on Twitter and the way that she is not afraid to call certain issues, especially in publishing or in the fantasy world. She's not afraid to call them out. So I've really admired her for a long time. I knew I would really enjoy her books. I had just never gotten around to them until this year, and I'm really glad I did, but I'm also kind of kicking myself. So the next question is newest fictional crush. And this is always the most boring question for me because I feel like I don't crush on fictional characters. Just don't. I haven't since I was like a teenager. I feel like I maybe aged out of it. Not saying that if you do crush on fictional characters it's like immature or anything like that, but I think just for me it's just not really a thing, so oops. So the next question is new favorite character, and I feel like I could have a ton of answers, but as I again am scrolling through my Goodreads, there's a very easy answer to this, and that would be Born from Born by Jeff Vandermeer. Born is like, I don't know, like a little science experiment gone wrong. He's like a cute, fluffy, talking animal companion, but is also maybe slightly scary and horrifying, and I love him. He's so cute and he's so sweet and I love him. And if you listen to the audiobook for Born, I don't think that the narrator is particularly exceptional kind of in general, but the voice that she does for Born is wonderful, and I think that helped me sort of fall in love with Born and make me want like a little Born friend because he's so cute and I love him so much. The next question is a book that made you cry. And you guys know, if you've been here for a while, I cry at everything. I am like the weepiest woman. I don't know if any of these books have made me cry. Did I cry at any of these? I don't think I have. Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. Okay, yeah, Kingdom of Copper. Never mind. S.A. Chakraborty. I didn't see that quickly enough. Yes, Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. She is just someone who punches you in the teeth multiple times, and you keep going back to her books because they're wonderful. Also, Empire of Gold made me cry now that I think of it. There's one particular moment in the last few pages of the book where it's just one word, and I read that and just erupted. It was so embarrassing. It was so good. Oh, I love her book so much, but yeah, that made me cry really hard. The next question is a book that made you happy, and I would say that Bookish and the Beast by Ashley Poston definitely made me happy. As I say, every single time that I talk about these books, I don't usually read contemporary YA. It's just not really my thing at all. However, I love this series. They're just like really sweet, fluffy, fun contemporary YA books. They're all centered around this particular fandom for a old TV show and now rebooted film franchise called Starfield, which is very much Star Trek meets Star Wars, and they're fairy tale retellings. They're just nice. They're so nice. And the next one, which is Bookish and the Beast, comes out in August. I read it early. I loved it. It's just sweet and happy and fluffy and gooey and wonderful. The next question is, what is the most beautiful book you acquired this year? And I actually had to go like shuffle along to the shelves to grab these because they are lovely. So I received both for my birthday, Beauty and the Beast and The Secret Garden. These are the Harper Design Classics, I think that's what the series is called, editions. And I got this from my friend Bethan and this from my friend Lauren for my birthday. And they're absolutely stunning. So lovely end papers. We love good end papers. And they're like highly illustrated, really nice. I've already showed these off before, but let's see if we can get this to work. They are also, oh yeah, there we go. But they're also like have these little interactive design elements to them as well. So like, oh god, I don't want to tear this. Like, oh, here we go. This is a good one. They've got like a snake charmer in this one, and they're just lovely, beautiful books. So these are definitely the most gorgeous editions that I have picked up this year. Of course, Empire of Gold by S.A. Chakraborty, another beautiful book, but these ones I feel are particularly special. And the last question is, what books do you want to read by the end of the year? All of them. I started this this is my second attempt at doing a TBR project to try to read down my TBR. It's not happened. It just keeps growing and growing every single month. There's well over 500 books on my shelves that I haven't read yet, which is pretty sad. We'll get there eventually. I would really like to read through my birthday gifts because a lot of them were, as I say, presents from you guys and from online friends, which was wonderful. And I'd really like to keep up with my advanced copies. That's just always kind of a goal though. We'll see where the year takes us. So that is it for the Mid-Year Freakout book tag. I tag anyone who wants to go ahead and do this. I feel like I'm a little bit late, so everyone that I would normally tag has probably already done this. So if you decide you want to do this, send me a link, let me know. I would love to watch it. In the comments below, let me know if you have read any particularly good books this year, if there's anything that you want to shout out, any recommendations you want to give, go ahead and let me know. I post bookish content to this channel fairly frequently, so go ahead and hit subscribe, check back soon, and I will see you next time.